Hello and welcome to The Hop, a podcast designed to help business owners and marketers navigate the ever-changing landscape of marketing and digital marketing in particular. I'm your host, Matt Taylor Farrington, and the owner of Purple Bunny Marketing, and today we are joined by the amazing Kira from River 949.
Hi!
And we're going to talk radio.
Yeah!
And hopefully the caffeine's going to continue to wear out of my system so we don't have to keep repeating lines. Agreed. It's going to be a burn later.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Don't want to be you later.
I'm going to hit a wall. But anyways, so apparently people are actually tuning in and watching, which is great because we got a question.
Yay!
Again.
I love questions.
Loving that. And the question we got was, why should someone consider advertising on regional radio versus metro? So
Okay.
the likes of like your River versus, I don't know, like your Triple M's and stuff like that.
Okay. So, welcome to the question as old as time.
Yes.
So, we keep going back to what we always talk about. It's all about your ideal client, the person
100%.
that you're trying to target.
Yes.
So there's no point in talking to, a 65-year-old person, like no offense to 65-year-olds who utilize technology, but a majority of 65-year-olds will probably pick up a paper versus picking up, social media, etc.
Correct.
So, go where your audience is.
Yes.
So it's no different in radio when you're talking regional versus metro,
Yep.
or vice versa. So go where your audience is. If you're in Brisbane and if you're a Brisbane nightclub and you're trying to promote yourself to 18-year-olds, have a look at all of the possibilities that are out there for you. If you're going, we want to target people who actually live in Brisbane or are in the Brisbane vicinity, go to a metro station.
Correct.
They're the ones who have the 18-year-olds living in your local area.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
But if you're targeting 18-year-olds in a regional area because you know that they're more cashed up, they might have, the ability to travel or whatever it might be, then of course you're going to go regional. You're
Yes.
not going... It's the same as yourself when you go and target with Facebook. You're going to go... Think about your audience.
You pick your demos, you pick all your things. It's the same thing with radio.
Yeah.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it comes back to reach, frequency and message. Pick your station with the audience that you need. Your frequency is the number of times your commercials played to make sure that people actually hear your message.
Correct.
And then your message is actually targeting the audience that you're trying to reach.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
That's what it comes down to. But there's something special that happens in regional markets. It's almost like the ether, the special stuff, the X factor. And it's actually because people feel more connected to their local radio station versus a metro station. It's sort of like radio stations in Brisbane are like they're Hollywood, or they're, they have shows that come in from Sydney, and I hear Kyle and Jackie O, and they're so amazing, and we see them on the TV.
Yes.
It's a little bit of a disconnect between your audience and the people who are, the people who are running the station, the audience versus your announcers.
Yes.
Whereas in a regional market, people feel more closely connected. Marnie and Campo are our breakfast team. They're talking about stuff that's actually happening in our region, stuff
Correct.
that's hyper local. So all of a sudden it's like, I feel connected. I feel more closely connected to them than I do to, say, the Brisbane radio stations who are talking about national stuff or stuff that happened in Sydney or so on and so forth.
That, and there's probably more of a community aspect too with regional. I guess, like things like I know with River, with your what's it called? The Weather Watch.
Yeah.
And you get like the local schools and their kid gets an opportunity, and stuff like that. So there's a lot more engagement with the local community on air and stuff. So I think that's probably why there also is that element of ownership a little bit in the community around the station and wanting to be involved or engaged with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we use the word ownership a lot at our station, mainly because of the fact that our listeners really do feel like they own the station.
Yes.
They have a vested interest in our station. They love it so much. And it's funny when something, they feel aggrieved by something because we turn around and make a slight change, and then all of a sudden it's like, here's 60 complaints about the fact that you've removed the 2020 retro countdown after the news. It's like, sorry guys, we'll change it back.
Yeah, 100%. But that's good because it means that as a local, you feel like you have the ability to get what you want from your station, but the station, it's also good for the station to know, because then they get the feedback and can implement those straight away and make those changes. And that, again, something we repeat in every podcast episode about listening to your consumer and take criticisms on board in the constructive way that they're being provided to change your business for the better.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the wonderful thing for marketers, for the advertisers, is that if our audience feels like that, all of a sudden you're more connected, your brand is more trusted by being put on a regional station.
Because they're that engaged.
Exactly. Yeah. So all of a sudden that transfer of trust is like instant.
Yeah.
So, that's the extra factor, that's the positive message that comes from regional markets. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about Ipswich or Cairns or Townsville, the same is right across the market, because I talk to all of my colleagues and they're just like, it happens everywhere.
Yeah, 100%. All right, I think we've covered off why you pick regional or metro. I think it's pretty obvious that, again, it's just the audience.
Yeah.
It's about knowing your audience and doing the research, of which leads us into, because the survey data tells us where your audience is, and that's what you should be looking at, is those independent surveys that tell you what the results are. But Kira has some amazing news.
Yes.
I hear River got some accolades in the latest survey data. What happened? Tell us what's going on.
Okay.
Nick, you need a drum roll here, 100%.
Yes. Can I have a little drum roll, please? So every 3 years, our market does a survey. So we're measuring the number of people that are listening to the station, when they're listening, what their ages are, all those sorts of key criteria that help marketers decide, is my money best spent on River or is it best spent on another station, so on and so forth. River 949 has become number one station in the Ipswich market. As of this result. Nick, I need a disclaimer because Kira's going to do some radio jargon, sorry, and I will explain. We measure station most listened to or session most listened to. So that means when the person who's doing the survey data, they turn around and say, hey, what's the station you listened to the most in the last 7 days? And you'll say, I listened to River 949 the most, or I listened to station B, or etc. etc.
Yep.
And I listened to the most between the hours of 5 and 7.
Yes.
For example. So those are the things that they're asking for when it says station most listened to or session most listened to.
Yep.
The other measuring or information we have is called cumulative audience, or CUM. So that is the total number of different people who listen to this station and or session. The ratings actually were really impressive. Yes. So we already knew that River 949 was actually the number one station in our market.
Yes.
What actually happened this time was we actually not only grew our audience, but we grew the gap between us and the number two station after us. So that was not only overall, but that was also in every session within our station and within every age group.
Yes.
So age groups are like 10 to 17, 18 to 24, so on and so forth, right up to 65 and above.
Which is how, like we were saying before, you'll identify the right station for your brand.
Exactly.
But yes, keep going. Sorry.
And the other thing also is that we talked about before how to pick the right time for your commercial, because it might be the fact that, you do, you want to talk about your cafe, you need to do breakfast. So knowing specific sessions times.
Of when the peak audience is listening.
Yep.
Correct. And your right audience.
Yes, exactly. So you can actually target your right audience and actually know that, there's going to be X number of people listening to the breakfast show or to the evenings or so on and so forth. So what it actually means is that the cumulative audience, is 48.6%.
Yeah,
so
wow.
that's almost 1 in every 2 people listening to River 949.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, that's ridiculous result. Like, crazy results. Yeah. Crazy results. But good to see, and especially for the local station, very good to see that we're seeing that result come through. Yeah, definitely.
It's one of those, you know it, you live and breathe it every day, but then all of a sudden when the numbers come in and you actually see the hard numbers, you go, I was right.
Yes.
It actually is true, and I now have the numbers to back it up.
Yes.
So that's where these numbers get quite exciting for us from a station point of view. But the really standout numbers actually came, so Drive, so our Drive show, which starts at 2:00 in the afternoon and ends at 6, and then we roll into 9 News. 6.5% increase.
Yeah, right.
Get out of town, right?
So people like listening to Hinksy talk
I know,
dribble.
who would have thought?
So let me guess, Hinksy's going for a pay rise?
Hinksy's head doesn't fit through the door anymore.
Yes, not surprised by that at all.
No. But the really awesome part is, so you know how I was talking about that those complaints were real life.
Yes.
We had 60-odd complaints about people turning around and going, where's our 2020 retro countdown? We love that show. Where is it?
Yes.
7.5% increase in that time slot. So that finishes at 10:00 in the evening.
Right.
So we've got an increase in numbers of what people wouldn't consider that's our peak listening time for our region. So even then, people are still tuning in and they're increasing in their numbers. So, you know, multiple factors around people who now work different hours and we commute longer.
Work from home still.
Even rather than turning on the news, they turn on something that's more comforting, bit of music, bit of variety, music trivia. Yes. All included, all in that. Yep. So why wouldn't you continue to listen?
Yeah,
and
correct.
The numbers.
And you've got the platforms like, you know, your iHeartRadios to listen as well. So a lot more people, I think, are streaming it. And I mean, honestly, you know, if the station's playing the right mix of music, I call them in Brisbane the repeat FMs.
Sorry.
Correct. But, you know, that does necessarily for a different type of demo that I like, it frustrates me when I tune into the Brisbane station. I'm like, man, I heard this song like an hour ago. Yeah. Why am I hearing it again, sort of thing? Yeah. So I think you guys have a good mix of music in there, and then, you know, sprinkled in with amazing advertisers and whatnot. Sorry, we had to plug that. Come on. I think it's a recipe for a great outcome. So, and I think you guys have got some funny elements in there with Marnie and Campo, Dave and Nikki, if Dave can actually press the right panel buttons.
Yeah,
And going back to the audience before, when you were talking about how dedicated they are, I was in studio one day with Dave and Nikki, and David left the mics on, and they rang to let us know.
Yes.
I mean, thank God we weren't talking bad about anyone or anything in the studio, but he'd left the mics on. So, you know, given all of those things, it just goes to show the loyalty, I guess, that's coming through in local and people wanting to be local.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Hinksy's show's always a laugh.
Oh, so. Absolutely. Well, I was out at a local event recently, and the lady actually turned around and said, "Oh, you crash test Tamara?" And just FYI, she's a woman that goes on.
She's a real person, not a crash test dummy.
And she actually does wacky things with Hinksy. And yeah, I just went, no, I'm not, but she's awesome, and that's so cool.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden to hear these elements start to come back to you, like I said, we live and breathe it. We see it every day. I talk to Tamara every day, and to have somebody turn around in the public and just go, "Oh, you her?" It's like, no, I'm not, but that's so cool.
Yes. It means Tamara needs to get out of the office more. But
it means Tamara needs a pay raise.
Sorry, David. We keep mentioning all these pay rises. Must be those ratings coming through.
I know, right?
But anyways. All right, so what is that all? Is that all you've got to spruik about when it comes to the ratings?
Well, pretty much. I mean, look, the standout always has been breakfast. Our breakfast team have been together for a very long time, and the the wonderful part is their numbers actually continue to increase.
Yep.
3.7%. So now they have over 100,000 listeners to their show.
Yes.
In breakfast.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's incredibly awesome.
But that's amazing for them, and kudos to them, you know, for their show and for what they do.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is hard yakka the hours they put into and turn up in the mornings.
You couldn't get me out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not a chance.
Yes, so stop booking OBs.
Yeah. I didn't say that.
No. No.
I'm a salesperson. You're not allowed to say no.
Correct. True. I just don't like turning up at that hour for radio. But that's okay. Anyways, off topic. So is that a wrap? You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Look, hey, thank you so much for the question, whomever you might be. That was really awesome. I'd love to get more questions like that because we don't like to talk we like to talk a bit more broadly in these sessions, mainly because it's about radio. You know, yes, I work for River and ARN, but it's about radio as a holistic perspective.
Correct.
So, you know, I got my 15 seconds of fame. Woohoo, thank you.
Yes.
But yeah, continue to send in questions because I'd love to hear more, be able to answer more specific questions because that's
and if that's if that's the genuine questions that are coming out from the audience, we definitely, that's the intent of the podcast was to be able to help people and answer those questions when they're not quite sure. And just remember, no question's a stupid question.
No, absolutely.
So, but speaking of 15 seconds of fame, because if I don't do it, I'll never hear the end of it, and she might turn my hair purple again. My hairdresser, Sigrid from Hair by Sigrid at Flagstone, amazing, made this look like this for the podcast because I threatened her otherwise. Shout out to Hair by Sigrid. If you're in the Flagstone area, Logan area, Jimboomba area, that sort of area, you have to go visit Sigrid from Hair by Sigrid. Anyways, that's enough shout outs, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, we're going to wrap this up because I think I need more coffee. So that's a wrap from us at The Hop. So stay tuned for... I'm losing it. So stay tuned and we'll help you to get your marketing hopping.